I was brought up by a British father who emigrated to the US, definitely because he wanted a different life, but with that very strong, everybody's equal, don't give yourself airs, never praised for anything I did, always just trying to hold the lid on me. And that was half of my upbringing, and the other half was a Jewish activist grandmother who was always saying, you must write, she said this to me at age 5, you must write, you must make a contribution, you must go out in the world, and you're very talented. That's why I spent many years getting over my British side, because it's kind of paralyzing. What also made me feel very sad listening to this litany of the way you hold yourself, which is actually very Western, but more extreme here, perhaps. But what made me so sad, and it does frequently, is how far Western culture strayed from understanding human nature. So I've just been reading a little history, and it was the Greeks who believed that the senses did not give us any valid information. That if you could prove something by logic, such as I could logically prove that this glass is not moving, then even if I saw it moving in Greek tradition, I would discount that. For me, in this modern day, what we're seeing is not tuning in to our sensory information, not tuning into our emotions, not tuning into anything that really describes human nature, and instead feeling, as you will hear me speak in detail, that we can just treat human beings as senseless, I like the use of that word right there, senseless machines from whom we need to get certain things. And I've just written my 7th book, which will be out in October, and in that book I ask that each of us choose a new role for ourselves, which is to be warriors for the human spirit. Warrior I use from a different tradition, from Tibetan, because warriors in Tibet are not aggressive. In fact, they're just the opposite. A warrior is one who is brave enough not to use aggression to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. So I'm using it, it's a very provocative word, I know that, but using it in this sense of, can we who work deep in community understand that our task truly is to be warriors, champions, defenders, whatever word you want to use, for the human spirit. So I'm going to explore several of the dynamics that I see evident in the world at large that, to sum up, to conclude where I'm going with this, is that the dynamics that are increasing in the world these days are very destructive of the human spirit. And they're very destructive of all the great words that Rory just used about, they're destructive of community, confidence, capacity, creativity. And I want to explore those and offer them to you, not from a Scottish perspective, but from a global perspective. I have the incredible privilege of speaking to a lot of people from many different cultures. I'm always listening to what sounds the same, because underneath our different cultural expressions, we are motivated, I will declare till I die, by very basic needs that give us enormous capacity. So I have found that this is true, that there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And the reason this works, when we do come together, The reason it works so well is because humans have certain things in common everywhere. We have a great need to be together. We have a great need to see our children's lives improve, or at least them not to die and suffer. So working on issues of children is, I think, the strongest way of bringing a community together. And we also have a great desire as human beings to learn and to grow. So all of this craziness that's come about in Western culture, which is that learning, we have to use this term lifelong learning. Well, actually a scientist friend of mine said, any living system is a learning system. If you don't learn, you die. So it's basic. Living and learning should be absolute synonyms, replaceable, one for the other. And humans have a great need to contribute to something beyond themselves. Well, that's enough to build on, isn't it? You know, a desire to learn, a desire to be together, a desire to contribute, and a desire to see their children's welfare, you know, extended into the future. That's more than enough to work with. I also want to say one thing, Carol, that in my own experience, I have worked in enough cultures now, many of them are aboriginal or traditional cultures, in which there never was the ego, the individual was never put first. So therefore, it wasn't about putting your head up above the parapet, or the tall poppy syndrome, as they call it in Australasia. It was much more about what is your unique gift to the community. And when I've been in those cultures, people are joyful, naturally, because they're not defending an ego, they're participating in something. It's not all rosy, because communitarian cultures are very limiting for individual expression. But you know, in West Africa, when a woman announces she's pregnant, the question is, what is the gift that this child is bringing to our community at this time? Not, there they go again, they're breeding like flies. What are we going to do about population overgrowth? But instead, what is the gift that this child is bringing to us at this time? They actually talk to the child in the womb and name the child in the womb.